Scott Eastwood tells how a plane crash saved Clint from being sent to the Korean War.
I don't know if you know this story, but he was about 2 seconds from being deployed to the Korean War.
Watch Clint Eastwood confront Ramon in one of cinema's most intense rivalries.
You afraid, Ramon?
Clint Eastwood gives his honest response to critics and Time magazine.
You get this all the time because you made a joke about it yourself. I think Time magazine or somebody said you studied at the Mount Rushmore Dramatic Society.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was Time, but I don't say anything to him. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Right.
Critic,
But your films have grossed something like somebody told me around $200 million, which is incredible around the world. I don't know anybody who does.
Yeah, I don't know what the
internationally.
exact figures are. I read in a publication the other day they had it broken down into various forms, but critics are just like anybody else. They have their opinion, and you hope it's very flattering to your ego if they happen to say, well, fine, I really think this guy did a marvelous job, and you see it in print, and it pumps you up for a second. But the main thing is, how does the public accept
Right.
it?
Because if you let the critics get to you, you can really go around with a king-size knot in your stomach all the time.
Right, exactly.
So you kind of have to just say, hey, forget it.
Scott Eastwood describes the silent respect Clint commands at the dinner table.
Awards. I'm really sorry Heston showed up, in a way, but I know the feeling when you're backstage and somebody comes to you and says, Heston's not here. They corralled you, obviously, and said, go out and do the opening stuff, right?
Well, I wasn't even backstage. I was sitting in the audience.
You were down in the
I was
audience?
down in the audience. I didn't have to worry because I didn't have a thing to do till the very end of the show, which was to present Best Picture.
Right.
And Howard Koch, who's normally a very cool, collected type person, comes up to me and his hands were going up and down like a Singer sewing machine. And he says, Charlton Heston hasn't shown up. Well, I didn't know he was supposed to be on the show, so I said, yeah, so.
Big deal, huh?
Yeah, and so he said, he has to read the whole opening thing. He says, can you come back and do it? And I started to say no, and I was looking around for Gregory Peck, and my wife nudged me and said, go ahead, you can do it for him. And I was, boom.
Clint Eastwood held onto the Unforgiven script for 10 years until he was old enough.
Where he sat on that script for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Before he made it.
Watch this iconic moment with Clint Eastwood. I do kilometri a nuoto trogli squally.
Because he ultimately ended up there. I think one person died. Him and the pilot are...
The iconic speech about the two kinds of people in this world.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig.
Clint Eastwood reflects on why every gun makes its own unique sound.
Every gun makes its own tune. And it's perfect timing.
Scott Eastwood explains why his father originally decided to film westerns in Italy.
About taking the barium test. When did the term spaghetti western first take effect? Now, those were the westerns, obviously, that were made in Italy. The Fistful of Dollars you made over there was very big, and others, of course. But when was the first time you heard that specific term used to describe
Well, they used to call, I think the Japanese termed them macaroni westerns when they first came out. They came out over there before they did here. At least Fistful of Dollars did, because it was held up in litigation due to a lot of problems in this country. So they called them macaroni westerns, and then somebody else grabbed them, the spaghetti westerns, which was logical because they were Italian productions, though they were filmed in...
Watch this iconic moment with Clint Eastwood. Non sapeva che il film fosse il suo.
No, he didn't even know.
He didn't know.
He didn't know it was his movie.
Scott Eastwood describes the silent respect Clint commands at the dinner table.
We're shooting in Almeria, and he needs a tree for a hanging tree with a noose on it. He just wanted a tree with a noose, a symbol as I ride by. This is back on the Fistful of Dollars. He couldn't get a tree. There was an old tree that was in somebody's yard. It was dead, but it was in somebody's yard. And so all of a sudden, the guy, they go in, he sends a crew in, and they cut the tree down at the guy's yard. Well, the guy comes out the front door and says, what are you doing, cutting down the tree? And he says, we're from the highway department. This is a danger. This tree might fall on the road, so we're taking it out. And the guy kind of went, oh, okay.
Clint Eastwood reveals his classic stance on taking cheap work in Hollywood.
I don't work cheap.
Here is Clint Eastwood delivering his cold ultimatum to a hunted outlaw.
Alive or dead, it's your choice. Tell me, isn't the sheriff supposed to be?
Watch this iconic moment with Clint Eastwood, lo scambio flirtanti sol mistero nelli relazioni.
No, not necessarily.
Not even a woman you're close to?
Oh, you talk about certain things, but there's never a 100%. Let me put it this way: if you break it down from 100%, you might talk 60%.
You must drive people
A
crazy.
woman would go absolutely nuts if you knew 100% about a person.
How do you
wouldn't she?
know? Might be terrific.
Yeah, but it might be boring. There'd be nothing else to know. The women I know understand.
You don't see them again, right?
Yeah, somebody who's that interested, I wonder why they're that interested. Why aren't they enjoying the fact that there's more to know all the time? Don't you think?
Don't I think? I don't know. I think somewhere between the two. I mean, I think it's nice
if
to
you
be
knew
mysterious.
100%, what's there to know?
You
There's
would
nothing
drive
to
me
know.
nuts, and I would drive you crazy because I would be saying, but didn't you, or haven't you, or haven't you?
Well, we could try it and see if it worked out.
We'll start with this interview. If this is okay, we get some. Well, maybe we'll do another interview.
Clint describes the hilarious language barrier between him and Sergio Leone.
Once shooting in A Few Dollars More, and he wanted a crane. We didn't have a crane. We couldn't afford a crane on these pictures. But the De Laurentiis company had a crane nearby. In the summertime in Spain, they have a Catholic holiday about once a week. There's a different holiday. Well, there was a Catholic holiday coming up. So, and the De Laurentiis company wasn't going to be able to shoot, being an Italian company, a Catholic-oriented group. But Sergio went to the bishop and said, "We're not Catholics. We're a Jewish company, and we're over here shooting this film, and we're not Catholic. So could we film that day?" So the bishop gave his permission. Sure, you guys can go ahead and film. So we went to De Laurentiis and said, "You can't film, but we're going to film. Can we have your crane?" So he borrowed the crane.
Watch this iconic moment with Clint Eastwood, il copione biblico e l'improvisation in diretta TV.
I realize, having seen so much television through the years, that most things are either on teleprompter or cue cards. But it's one thing having seen what you're going to do and even do it well then, but not having seen it and having to do it cold would throw the most professional actor, because first of all, you don't know what they're really saying as you come to it, right? You just see each line come up and you don't know where they're going.
They lift a card and you don't know where they're going. Plus the fact that he called me backstage and he said, he says, "You can do this." And I look at it and it's all written with these biblical terms, and it's written for a man who played Moses, which, needless to say, I haven't done. And then he says, "Well," I said, "I can't do this, Howard." I said, "It's absolutely impossible. It's not written for me, and even if it was, I'm not sure it's the right kind of," and then he goes, say anything. So I just took the book and he shoved me right out on the stage, and there I was.
I like it when you said, "Flip the card, this is not my bag." I thought that was...
Scott Eastwood explains why his father originally decided to film westerns in Italy.
Right. Now, did they dub in Italian for those pictures for the foreign market? Did you make them in
Italians
English?
dub every picture. If you're filming a picture in Italy and it's being filmed in Italian, they dub it anyway. They just cue track it. In other words, they've got a mic here like this, and he gets a cue track, and then later on you come in and do a clean track later.
Oh, I see. So none of the very
So
little
they're
of the
used to
dialogue
it,
is
and,
done.
and they're sensational at it. They can sit and completely dub a show, and they've got actors who are trained, Italian actors who are trained to seeing movements of the mouth in English and syncing it in. And Japan the same way.
I've seen some of them. They do remarkable work.
Sensational.
Let me take...
Clint Eastwood shares his experience as mayor of Carmel by the Sea.
You take the work seriously. I guess I used this as my first day when I was mayor of Carmel, too. I said, let's take the work seriously, but for God's sake, let's not take ourselves seriously.
Yeah.
And that's where you get in a bind, is when you start taking yourself seriously, then you're in for deep trouble. I think, maybe not deep trouble, a lot of people can fake.
Scott Eastwood describes the silent respect Clint commands at the dinner table.
It was so funny because you'd be doing a scene, and in your eye line off of one side of the camera or another, you'd see a couple guys back there playing Frisbee or making motions or telling jokes, and you hear people talking. And it's very, very distracting, and I just kind of forged over it. It gave me a reason to concentrate that much more intently, but they just weren't used to the.
Clint analyzes Richard Burton's description of his acting as dynamic lethargy.
Description by Richard Burton of your acting style as dynamic lethargy. You must have pondered this an awful lot over the years.
Well, I don't think Richard pondered it too much. He was great for coming up with little sayings. I think he was always fascinated by the minimalist acting that is sometimes popular on American cinema. I know he was a big fan of Robert Mitchum's and some of Robert Mitchum's early work. And Gary Cooper, there's a whole history of actors who were pretty darn good, but they definitely didn't show their hand any more than they had to. So, and as technical things improved, as television improved and everything, you could be more minimal. It seemed like people would become more interested in what you were doing if you weren't just throwing it at them. If you made the audience sort of come meet you